let's talk about August 25th last year, when CoinDesk comes out and says, Aave is now the biggest lending protocol in the world. Obviously, you didn't get that overnight. What was that day like? What was the summer like? And maybe explain to people, what was the DeFi summer and what were you guys doing then?
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of like started back in a few years ago with our first kind of like a protocol, Itland, and that was pretty much like the like kind of like a bird-stones in decentralized finance. So we created a protocol where you can pretty much borrow against your assets, cryptographic assets. And it didn't get much traction because there wasn't that many users and, protocols didn't talk to each other. There was one decentralized exchange where you could swap your digital assets. So we kind of created this lending part for the ecosystem. But I would say like last year, especially like in year before, we started to see more composability where you had developers like us building something, other developers, different part of the world building another kind of building block, and someone else coming and building on top of this too. And you have this kind of like a financial Legos stacking on top and creating products. And when that started to become like this composability more obvious, we started to get more and more products and more bigger ecosystem. And builders became users, and then actually they started to build more products. Like we started to build more protocols that are just more functional. For example, back in the days, we created a protocol where you created practically a loan offer or a loan request to get funded, and now you just come to the Aave protocol, which has the Aave protocol itself is decentralized, which means that no one actually controls these protocols. Like no one controls the Bitcoin protocol or Ethereum protocol. It runs currently on multiple different chains. One of the chains is Ethereum blockchain. And it means that if you want to have any kind of a change in the protocol itself, you have to go through this governance process. So the users, the stakeholders come together, vote on different decisions, and those smart contracts will change. And we, as the builders of the protocol, can't change it. So that's the kind of like how the protocols work. And you have like 100 access points there. So you can just come and deposit your cryptographic assets and earn. It just became very simple. But to get to this point, it took like a few years of like different kinds of implementations. And because we were building an open system, so when we built something and deploy it to the blockchain network, someone else can come and copy what we built, improve it, and build something better. And this constant innovation cycle led to products that are actually usable by your grandma, your daughter, and that's why we are here. And without them, without this innovation cycle, and all these builders, we will not be in this kind of like a DeFi summer, and Aave will not exist. So it's kind of like the success of Aave is the success of the whole DeFi ecosystem and the builders, I would say.
And that whole open source aspect, that's something that's typical of the blockchain and crypto space in general, but you guys probably really made a push, right? To give these protocols as soon as possible to your community and your developers. And which again it's almost against the old capitalistic model, right?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs would roll over in his grave.
For sure.
Because the app and the app store is all about control and they take money on the back of it.
Yeah.
You in the space, and Aave particularly, you're like, take the code because that's the way we grow. And also that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and if you look at something like Microsoft and how Bill Gates run Microsoft, it's always about proprietary and moats. How do you build moats, for example? And then open source. That
concept of moats is a big thing, right?
Exactly.
To keep people out of your castle.
Exactly. Right? So you basically have something like this kind of defensibility. But end of the day, like, and open source used to be like in software that, you use it in some way to attract a community and attract developers, and then you still build a proprietary product on top of it.
Right.
But here in DeFi, you don't have any modes. So kind of like a software. So whatever you build openly, you create it and you put it in the public, and then you want people to use it and build other things on top. So you kind of like just be a part of building something bigger. And the kind of like only mode you have as a team is pretty much the talent you have and things you can build and the brand. So let's say the more you build very interesting things and experiment, the more kind of like attractive you become in the space and people follow what you are doing. And for example, we don't see Aave as the developer team any kind of like a DeFi we're not a DeFi company. We're basically a team that builds Web3. So we built one part of decentralized finance. Now we're focusing on building a social graph, decentralized social graph, and tomorrow we might be focusing on maybe decentralized e-commerce. So our goal is just to build the Web3 and the pieces that are now missing.